Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast, a podcast you come to when you're finally ready to take fantasy hockey seriously. My name is Nate Groot-Niblake. I'm the creator of Apples and Ginos, originator of the Zero-G draft strategy, and in this episode, Blake and I are going to tell you how to win in Week 16 of the fantasy season. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend. It's Blake Creamer here with me. Blake, how are we feeling tonight?
I'm always feeling good with you, my man. And that's a fact. All right. That's true. I'm not just blowing smoke here. But yeah, things are good. I mean, life-wise, fantasy-wise, it's been a bit of a slog this week. Yeah, with all the injuries, and we'll get into it here with the Newsies and stuff. But geez. I mean, it really kind of just takes the wind out of your sails there when you got all these injuries here. So, you know what we decided to do today, Nathan? My wife and I went down to this it's this farm out in kind of the South Vancouver Island here, and we did a sauna and like a cold plunge. So you do that for 2 hours. Like I got it for Christmas, and man, that is pretty neat, man. You ever do anything like that? Like get into?
No.
You ever do a cold plunge?
No, not specifically as a cold plunge. I've done similar escapades, but not a cold plunge as
Escapades.
such.
Oh my God. Well, I have to hear more about that later, but yeah, it was really fun, man. Like it just kind of got us very centered and just sort of, I felt good. And then when I got back into my car, I, turned on the internet and saw my teams, and then I felt bad again. But for those 2 hours, buddy, we were rocking it, man. So highly recommended. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Nathan, you got to do that.
All right. Something to put on the bucket list for sure. Something to, take my mind off all the injuries piling up in every league. The cherry on the top today was Troy Terry. Comes off the day-to-day. We get a tweet. He's going to play tonight. Oh, great. So I dropped somebody, put Troy Terry back in my lineup, and then we get him on IR 3 hours later. And I was like, wow, that's about how the week has gone. I'm not trending well this week. Still probably going to win in a couple spots, but other ones not so hot. So we will see how it all ends up, but I think the people want to hear some newsies, so we best do it.
Newsies! That's right. We do that. I've learned to wait until Nathan is done talking, and then I'll get the newsies in because, we're a little out of practice. We kind of trample on each other a little bit, but not now. All right. Lots to talk about here news-wise, like Nate was saying here. First off, Shane Gostisbehere, one of the ones that really kind of hit me hard today in a tight matchup. Yeah, he missed practice with an illness they reported, and then all of a sudden now it's an injury. So, he missed the game here tonight. Didn't matter. The Canes beat the hell out of the Panthers 9-1. There's been a ton of these scores lately, Nate. Have you, it feels like something weird is going on. It's like, are teams just kind of maybe already at the Olympic break and kind of thinking about that, or like how are these teams running up these scores like this? It's crazy.
I think there is some credence to just the schedule effect, like how condensed the schedule is this year. So some teams the travel is a bit crazier. They hit that third game in 4 days and it's at the end of their road trip, and then they just can't get it going for that game, and so the other team is sitting at home waiting for them to come to them, and they're just primed and hand it to them. So I think there is a bit more of that this year than we've seen in years past, but it certainly feels like it's all happening in the last little bit.
Yeah, it seems concentrated at this point. There's some crazy scores here. But what are you going to do? It's good for fantasy if you got the right guys, which I didn't this week. All right, but that's fine. Let's move over to Anaheim. As you mentioned, Troy Terry now on IR after reports he was good to go. So I don't know what the hell's going on there. Also, Leo Carlson. He's out, and now he's out for 3 to 5 weeks. He had some type of procedure done on a lesion that he had, so he's going to miss the Olympics. That sucks for him. It's been a great season for Leo Carlson, so I'm sure he'll be back good to go after that. The Ducks are still, kind of a weird question mark. I know you've been talking about them a lot on puzzling players, and they're still puzzling, right?
Yeah.
We haven't figured out the puzzle, folks, but obviously a very talented team, and when they're going on all cylinders, this is a great team for fantasy. So hopefully he's back. Chicken next, Chris Kreider missed Friday's game with an illness as well, so that's fine. Over to Long Island. All right, Bo Horvat still out. And it sounds like he's going to play before the Olympic break. That's what Patrick Roy wants, but he's not joining the team on the upcoming road trip here. So they're just kind of, sounds like they're taking it really slow with his recovery, making sure he's, not at risk of aggravating that injury again. So there you go. Minnesota Wild, what the hell? This was one that, I was telling you, I wake up in the morning and I just see kind of one of the first updates I see is like Matt Boldy goes on IR and Jeet goes on IR. Just like, what? Why? Like I didn't even know he was injured. Damn it. So those are the worst ones to me. So Boldy and Jeet going on IR. For Boldy in particular, that means he's going to miss the next 4 games at least. So what that does mean is who's on power play 1 there? Who is going to benefit from Boldy being out? Because we've seen, with other players out, obviously Tarasenko goes up there, but Boldy on that power play is a major play driver and kind of a hammer, right? A guy at the end of passes. So it's going to be a different looking power play there. What do you think that power play is going to look like in mini?
Yeah, I mean, in the last game, they ran Zuccarello, Hartman, Boldy, Kaprizov. So obviously replacing Boldy there. Tarasenko's been the guy who's been there the most often previously. So maybe they go just with familiarity there. That wouldn't be too shocking. Danila Yurov has played a lot with Zuccarello and Kaprizov. So they could try to just carry over some of that like line chemistry onto the power play. You could see Yurov there, and that would obviously make him pretty interesting, but definitely a situation to monitor for fantasy.
Yep, got to keep an eye on it. I mean, the Minnesota Wild's power play is 14th best in conversion right now, but that's including the whole year. That's before they had Quinn Hughes, right? So I don't know the numbers, actually. I should look into that. Like, what's their power play been like with Quinn Hughes? But chances are it's probably better. All right. Quinn, he's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, he's a good player. Over to Toronto. Sounds like, big Willie Nylander is injured again. Couldn't re-aggravated his injury. Couldn't finish the last game there with the Leafs. Definitely concerning, isn't it, Nate? Like, I saw a quote from Berube, just, they're saying like, hey, what's going on with him? And he was kind of like, I don't really know. Like, he seemed really uncertain, more so than he has in the past. So I don't know. Definitely we're monitoring that. But what have you seen from Willie Nylander there? Like, what do you think he's dealing with? And what do you think about this kind of injury timeline?
Yeah, they're saying it's lower body. Uh, there, it seems like it might have happened on his goal celebration there, where he just kind of like fell and like tweaked it a bit. So I'm thinking it's probably like a hip or a knee or something that he's dealing with, and it's just enough to let him play when it's feeling good, and just enough to keep him out when it's not. And so yeah, I mean, I think it's been affecting him for a long time. Like
Yeah.
he started off the season red hot and then went like very, very quiet. And everybody in Toronto was like, Nylander's not doing anything, and he's a big reason why we can't win right now. I think he was just injured the entire time and just playing through it. And then it got worse instead of better. And it seems like it might be something he's just going to deal with. So, yeah, it is pretty concerning for Nylander managers at this point.
Yep. At least AM 3-4 is looking pretty damn nice out there. And Matthew Nyes as well, putting some points on the board. He's a little bit banged up as well. So yeah, keep an eye on Willie Nylander there. That's something to monitor. Over to New York, the Rags. Oh man. Wheels are falling off there. Chris Drury, the GM, puts out a letter to the fans basically saying, like, we're not going to stand pat. We're going to make some changes, basically apologizing to the fans and saying he's going to basically blow up the team and keep, he said his core, but that, like, what's the core? What's the core
Yeah.
there in New York? Because we also got word that he told Artemi Panarin that he's not going to be extended into next year. So Panarin's likely going to be traded. So talk to me about the New York Rangers kind of outlook, what you think about their potential, rebuild / retool on the fly. What the hell? I want to stop saying these terms. They don't mean anything. But talk to me about the Rangers, and then talk to me about Panarin in particular, and what you think, he could maybe do if he goes to another team.
Yeah, I think that probably what it means to me is JT Miller stays, Adam Fox stays, Igor Shesterkin stays, and anybody after that I think is at least at the risk of being moved. I don't really think there's going to be a market for like Mika Zibanejad at 8.5 mil.
Mm-hmm.
He's having a great year this year, but it really did seem like like if you look at the last couple of years before this, this feels a bit more outlierish than the seasons before. So I feel like they're gonna struggle to move Zibanejad, even if they might want to, unless they retain salary and do some other stuff there, which
Yep.
would doesn't seem like they want to go full rebuild. So it doesn't seem like that's gonna be in the cards. But Panarin is definitely gone. I think at this point, that's for sure. I saw there was some noise around Vincent Trocheck as well, potentially being a trade option there. Panarin is the most interesting for fantasy, pretty obviously. It kind of sucks if you had Panarin, you're hoping for that New York Rangers playoff schedule, and you're not going to get that anymore.
Yeah.
But Panarin will be great wherever he goes. That's definitely not something I'm worried about. Basically, I don't think this is the kind of player who goes somewhere and struggles. Um, I mean, Carolina has always been in on big names, and it wouldn't be shocking for them to go in on a name like this again. The way that they did on Rantanen last year, that would make a
Yep.
lot of sense to me. Um, I mean, Buffalo would be pretty fun if they took a big swing. I don't know what their cap situation is off the top of my head, so I don't know if that's even a possibility. But yeah, there's a few spots out there where I think it could actually get really fun really fast for Panarin. And yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes. I do think that it probably doesn't get like significantly better. Like I don't think he goes somewhere and all of a sudden it's a 120 point pace
Yep.
unless he happens to like get a really sweet deal to like one of the top teams with a lot of other top end scores. But I do think that he can at least hold water as to where he's been, and with the potential for a little bit more if he finds a really good spot.
Get him out to San Jose.
Let's do
Oh,
it.
buddy. Celebrini and Panarin. Yes, please. I love Panarin, actually. I know it's been kind of a down year from what we expected, right? He's still pacing for 89 points, but he's like Kucherov light to me. Yeah, he has kind of that in his bag, his play driving ability, his creativity out there. Like he really drives a line, drives offense for a team. So it'll be interesting. I agree with you. I don't think he's going to go to another team and all of a sudden, start playing at 110-point pace or anything. It takes a while to kind of warm up. Yeah, he can maybe get lucky and put a bunch of points on the board, but I think it's going to be more kind of like a Thomas Hurdle situation when he went to Vegas, or something like that, where he's getting
Mm-hmm.
line 2, power play 1, and kind of just putting up similar numbers that he's got here. So big news though. That'll be interesting to see where he signs in the off season there, if he can extend on the team he's traded to, because I think he's still got a lot of gas left in the tank. Great player. So there you go. Shout out to the bread man. Let's move over to the next thing here. Shimon Nemec. Oh my God. He's getting probably scratched here the next game here for the Devils. Kind of an interesting situation there in New Jersey. They got 7 NHL caliber defensemen, and someone's going to have to ride pine here. And it looks like it's going to be between Sevic, is that his name? I don't know. Nemec and Dougie Hamilton, right? So I love to see that Dougie's still in there. I think at this point, if they're really looking to get off Dougie Hamilton, they got to showcase him a little bit, right? So get him out there doing what he does, putting the biscuit on net, right? Not scoring, right? He doesn't do that, but he chucks pucks with the best of them. We'd love to see that. Had a nice 2-assist game there the other day as well. So I think Hamilton could get a little bit of run here while they try and, facilitate a trade potentially if that's the way they go. But yeah, Nemec is kind of the odd man out. Kind of stinks because I think, he's a great player. Could be a great player for fantasy. Will be a good player in the future moving forward. So there you go. Over to Ottawa, Linus Ullmark. He was back on the ice with his team in practice. Love to see that. We still don't know kind of what the issue is there, but no timeline for him. Good to see him out there. They clearly need him back because Marolainen is getting every start. It's insane. Like back-to-backs, whatever. Get the hell out there, buddy.
Yeah.
And yeah, to mixed results, right? Ottawa's been pretty leaky in terms of goals against. So yeah, they really need Ullmark back. He did not play well before he went off on this leave here. So hopefully he's good to go when he gets back in Montreal. Patrick Laine. Do you remember this man? Patrick Laine. He does stuff. He plays hockey sometimes. He is back at practice in a regular jersey. Nice to see. I mean, do we care, right? Regular jersey, that means he could be back here soon. So where do you think Laine fits in with Montreal? And do we care? Like, is he going to continue to get this kind of 11 to 14 minute treatment with potential for power play 1?
Yeah, I really don't think that they're gonna play him higher up the lineup. It feels like St. Louis got fed up with him and started playing him down the lineup. So I think bottom six, power play two is probably what I'm expecting at this point for Line A moving forward. They've also have like multiple options that they seem to like on the top power play now
Yep.
outside of Line A. I just think he's got to jump a couple people to get there. I don't think it's likely.
I still think this guy's got juice. Maybe not this year, but yeah, he's got to go to a place where, with a reasonable contract, right? Like sign for something reasonable, so the pressure's off and you can just get the biz. I think this is like a 25 and 25 guy, which I think is valuable for fantasy. He could obviously score a lot more than that if he gets hot or deployment, but something to keep an eye on. I like the player. Over to Washington, Wilson, but he's been tooting in my open mouth here the entire week, last week as well. It stinks. All right, I don't need that. But yeah, it sounds like he's a game time decision against Florida for Saturday. So I'm hoping he's back in the lineup. I have him in a lot of spots. So, and that's all that matters, right? My scores for fantasy, right? I don't care about the man's health. And then Sordif as well is he was placed on IR for the Washington Capitals. So something to monitor there. 5 points. And then what have you done for me lately? Yeah, he's really, that's nothing. He's done nothing, right? And then we can agree on that. I don't know. I'm going with that, Nate. I'm sorry. Braden Point, Tampa Bay Lightning. He's on IR as well. Sounds like Hagel's getting the power play 1 reps there. Bjorkstrand's still up on power play 1. Something to know there. Jacob Fowler got sent down in kind of a surprising, but it makes some sense there, but he did get sent down to the Laval Rockets. So the 3 goalie situation there in Montreal no longer, right? We got Monty, we got Dobish. So do you think that was the right move there, Nate, for them to send Fowler down? I think it's kind of maybe the move they had to make, but do you think it was the right one?
Yeah, I think, I mean, what they want to have happen is for Montembeau to play well enough to be their starter again. And he's been decent. Like, he hasn't allowed 4 goals in any of the 4 games that he started since coming back, which is maybe a low bar to clear, you would hope. But
We're
yeah,
like, yay!
he's been perfectly cromulent, we can say,
Yes.
as a goaltender. So I think it makes some sense. I think what they want to have happen is for Montembeau to at least take 55% of the starts, if not more, moving forward.
Yep. No, I thought Fowler acquitted himself pretty well up here, and he's got a bright future. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think they can send him down without waivers or anything like that. It makes some sense. So, in Buffalo, oh my God, Josh Norris, still being evaluated after apparently he took a cross check to the ribs, but I saw some other footage that was like, is this where Norris got injured? And it was literally him just like winding up for a slap shot. Like, is that it? I don't know. Like that's the level here, folks. All right. And I love Josh Norris. I love Josh Norris, but if you get injured taking a slap shot, my man, I mean, let's take some time. Let's reevaluate, what we're doing in our lives and figure it out because this guy, when he's in the lineup, he's a 60 to 70 point player. And I'm a big fan of the guy, but yeah, it's really tough. I really thought like this is one of those guys that's an injury narrative guy that I might have to sort of start baking that in a little bit, right? I know Mark Stone is one, and of course he's played like pretty well this season. Josh Norris seems like it's every game you're like, did he make it through? You know, so it's pretty rough stuff. I love the player, but pretty frustrating. Robert Thomas, I'm not crazy. Well, he is a little crazy. All right. And now he's injured. Damn it. He's on IR with a lower body injury. So power play 1 there. I actually haven't checked in St. Louis, but we obviously got Cam Fowler. Is Kyrou back up there now? Do you know, Nate? I meant to look at this and then I didn't. I put power play 1 question mark.
Yeah, they had Kyrou on the top power play. It kind of
Good.
depends what you call the top power play at this point. Without Rob Thomas, how do you define what the top power play is? It was Shen, Kyrou, Neighbors, Snuggerud, with Broberg on the back end that got the most ice time in the game
Okay.
against Tampa here on Friday. So I think you call that the first unit. The other unit was Sundqvist, Buchnevich, Berggren, Dvorsky, and Justin Falk on the back end. So yeah, I would call that the top unit personally, but I've been wrong before with Jim Montgomery and his deployment of Jordan Kyrou. So
I know, but it's nice to see though. Kyrou, he's still looking good under the hood. That's always going to be a player of interest for me.
yeah,
Yeah, I love to see kind of the way it's trending, and they beat Tampa, right, which is a wagon right now. So that's a nice win for the Blues. We got Dan Vladar in Philly. He's day to day, so they called up Kolosov, but it doesn't sound like the injury to Vladar is very serious. So yeah, he's really been good for them for the most part and kind of give them some stability because the team is not great. So yeah, Vladar's had to be really good, and he has been to some degree. Lastly, in Dallas, Miro Heiskanen, he sounds like he's going to be back in the Stars lineup after missing a couple games for personal reasons. So get him back in your lineup. And that's all it is for the news. Buddy, we got to attack that schedule. Let's get it.
All right, let's do that. Let's attack that schedule. On Monday this week, we have 10 games. It's a bit of an odd week schedule wise, so buckle up. 10 games on Monday, 8 games on Tuesday, 6 games on Wednesday, 8 games on Thursday, 8 games again on Friday, 9 games on Saturday, and 6 games on Sunday. So a very evenly distributed schedule this week, 55 total games played. So it is a heavy week the way that we like to look at it. 55 plus we would consider heavy. There is a team that has a Sunday Monday back to back. So if you're looking for somebody to stream in on the Sunday and give you an extra game to kickstart your week, New Jersey does that for you here. There are 6 teams with the Monday Tuesday back to back to open the week. That's Buffalo, Minnesota, New Jersey, the Rangers, San Jose, and Winnipeg. There are 10 teams with Monday, Wednesday, quote unquote off nights. I guess the Monday doesn't count as an off night with 10 games played, but Anaheim, Calgary, Colorado, New York Islanders, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Toronto, Vancouver, Washington all go Monday, Wednesday. There are 4 teams in total that play 3 games played in the first 4 nights of the week, which I think is kind of interest in a week like this. That's going to be Buffalo, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and Winnipeg. So that might be something to look at where in a week where you're probably going to have open spots on almost every night of the week. And then I think that's something to look at who can get you 3 games played in the first 4 nights and get you a head start on the week. There are 9 teams with Friday, Sunday off nights, if that matters to you with the 9 games Saturday, if you need to avoid that. Anaheim, Calgary, Chicago, Colorado, New Jersey, Seattle, Toronto, Vancouver, and Vegas. Schedule looks a little bit something like this. If you are on YouTube, you can see the Frozen Tools schedule planner. Great resource for visualizing the schedule ahead. Really, I think you can look at any team that plays 4 games this week as a potential pickup, depending obviously on what you've got going on that Monday and the Saturday at 10 games and 9 games respectively. But I think pretty much every night of the week you're going to have the option to add somebody, at least one person for that night. So that's going to be something that you need to really evaluate for yourself. And it might be a week, honestly, where you actually do just kind of favor the guy you think is best, and you don't have to think so much about like who's going to optimize my schedule perfectly. It's kind of like, sometimes we get these weeks where there's like no good streamers and the schedule is just terrible, and we say like this might be a week where you just go out and get somebody who you think you might be hanging on to. This might be a week where you can do that just by virtue of the fact that like over half the league has a great schedule, 4 game schedule, and you can kind of do something similar this week. You got anything to add here, Blake?
No, just reiterate what you're saying there. I think that's really smart. Like to go for quality, right?
Yeah.
Pick up a player that is out there that you think is actually going to do something. Because everybody has a good schedule.
All right. Let's get into it, Blake. Let's lower some expectations for these people.
Oh yeah, let's lower those expectations, folks. So in a week that has all these great schedules, there are a couple teams that are going to be pretty hard to roster fringe players on, and they are the LA Kings and the Utah Mammoth. They both play 2 games with 1 off night. Pretty rough stuff. I mean, LA plays Tuesday and then they don't play again until Saturday. Utah plays Wednesday and then Saturday. So it's not even like you can hold them for the Monday and then drop them. It's like I think you're going to have to make some decisions on some of these players, especially if you're, kind of hurting for games played against your opponent there. So starting with LA, we're looking at players that are good players that should probably be rostered that, you might have to make some decisions on. Mainly Quentin Byfield. I know you're not the biggest fan of Quentin Byfield and you're probably kicking him to the curb, but I'm hanging on, damn it. I mean, this week's going to be tough, right? I got to see kind of how things shape up in a couple spots where I've got Byfield, but yeah, you got Byfield out here. Laferriere as well. Kopitar is on IR, but he is skating with the team, so he could make a return this week, but obviously that's not a player you're going to grab because he's only got 2 games anyway. But talk to me about Byfield, Laferriere, and then a couple defense options, Brant Clark and Drew Doughty as well.
Yeah, I will not be hanging on to Quentin Byfield this week. I think anybody on pace for 49 points who's
Stop that.
skating 20 plus minutes a night is not somebody that I need to hinge my whole fantasy season on. So I'll be dropping Quentin Byfield. LaFerriere definitely. On the back end, I think Brant Clark, like 4 points his last five before this game that's still ongoing as we're recording here between the Ducks and the Kings. Doesn't have a point there yet. He's getting a little bit more ice time. He's second in ice time in this game here tonight. Over 20 minutes average time on ice in the last five games. 17 shots per 60. 22nd individual expected goals for per 60. 32nd in on ice expected goals for per 60. Despite Jim Hiller's best efforts, Brant Clark is exceeding his expectations every single game. I was listening to the PDO cast and they were just like going off on this, like how bad it is that Brant Clark isn't getting 25 minutes a night and just at least know if he can handle it. Like,
Yeah.
because in 20 minutes a night, he's absolutely crushing. So I think that Brant Clark is inevitable, and he's going to be a fantasy defenseman that we are going to be super high on next year when Jim Hiller is finally fired. So that's where I'm at with that. I don't think you're dropping Brant Clark. I think the talent is too high and it's really starting to shine through here. And I think it's going to just go up from here. Drew Doughty, you can definitely let go. He's not scoring any points. His underlyings are not that great. You can definitely let go of Drew Doughty.
I love that. I love the Clark take. Yeah, he's a must roster player. This is exciting stuff. He scored a nice goal in overtime the other night too. A
Yep.
nice little pass from Kempe. So yeah, he's exactly the kind of defenseman you want for fantasy. Plus he blocks like a hot damn. So and he's averaging career high block rate as well this season. So fun fact for him. Anyways, let's move on to Utah Mammoth, and we're looking at again players that should spend some time on your rosters here. Nicky Schmaltz. Pretty nice stuff. Yeah, he's got 6 points in his last five. JJ Paterka as well. Lawson Krause, Sean Dursey. I think, Krause and Dursey, absolutely. We're bouncing them. It's not even a question. But Schmaltz and Paterka, what are you doing with those players?
It's really tough. Schmaltz in particular for me, I have him in the Content Creators League.
Mhm.
And in that league, I have had Schmaltz and dropped him and picked him back up in that league, and he's not been like consistently rostered. And so that is probably a league where I could get away with dropping Nick Schmaltz. And even if I
Well,
don't
not
get,
now. I'm in the league with you as well.
yeah,
So you
but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I could drop Schmaltz in that league and get somebody else who's a similar player off the wire if I needed to.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm at least considering it in kind of those those lower tier leagues that you might be in if you know that you can get that player back or you know that somebody of that caliber is going to be back out there, then I would consider it just because the schedule is bad and this is a week where there are so many other teams with great schedules that it
yeah,
feels extra bad to be hanging on to a bad schedule. So I am considering it there. Paterka, I honestly under 15 minutes average time on ice in the last five
yeah.
games here. I'm not really thinking twice about letting him go if he is the bottom of my roster. And then Krause and Jersey, as you mentioned, absolutely let them go and find something better.
Yeah, I mean we're getting closer, right? We're getting closer to a point where yeah, if you're not at the top of your league, like you might have to make some decisions to get some wins here, right? And you might
Yep.
have to drop some players that yeah have some value. I think Paterka has value. I think Schmaltz has value. But yeah, that is an interesting point as well. Like if it always depends on the pickup as well. Like if there's guys that are comparable to that player, yeah, I'm happy dropping him. Like, yeah, if he goes on a hot streak, like, okay, whatever. It's good process at the very least. So, anyways, moving on. There are 14 teams that play 3 games with 0 off nights, but we're not going to detail all of those players here. I think you have to do what makes sense for your team. Again, set your lineups at the beginning of the week, see where the gaps are, and you can make some decisions from there. But LA and Utah definitely we're looking at dropping some players there. We got to move on to the next section here called crossing the streams. Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't have a crossing the stream story, but I was thinking basically, I went to the sauna there. What would happen? Like in the sauna, you've got that little like bucket of water. Like, what would happen if you just cross the streams onto the coals? I mean, would that enhance the experience for you, Nathan?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can inhale piss vapor, you got to do it. So,
Well, if you say it like that, it doesn't have the same lore. All right. This is a sacred bond, a creed, Nathan. Damn it. But yeah, I don't know. If anybody's ever crossed the streams onto a sauna, coals, like let us know because we're looking at, kind of taking it to the limit, right, Nate?
Yeah, you're on your own on that one.
Oh, damn, he's leaving me hanging. I hate that. It's like a theater sports we're doing here, Nate. It's yes and. That's what you're supposed to say.
Ah.
Yes and we carry the conversation on. We'll edit this in post. Don't worry about that. And we will cross the streams into the sauna. All right, but let's move on. Yeah, like Nate said, there is a ton of teams that have a ton of games. We got a bunch of 11 teams that play 4 games with 3 off nights. They are Anaheim, Calgary, Chicago, Colorado, New Jersey, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Toronto, Vancouver, and Vegas, baby. So yeah, 4 games, 3 off nights. Nate already talked about the teams that have 3 games in the first 4. So those are definitely teams you want to think about here. But let's start in Anaheim. What the hell's a duck? And why is it on the ice? We don't know. All right. But yeah, this team's tooting in our face as well. We've got players like Troy Terry, who's now, gone on IR. So we have to wait and kind of see what's going on there. We've got Trouba on our list here as well. He's 56% rostered. He's doing stuff out there. Like, you obviously get the peripheral floor. When a guy gets those kind of peripherals and he's getting a bunch of minutes too, yeah, it can really help you kind of, round out the bottom end of your team there. So just check and see if those guys are out there and see if it works for your team. But Nate, what I really want to talk to you about is some of these forward streamers here. We're looking at, this is still a great second line: Mason McTavish, Beckett Seneca. Seneca's he's been really solid, man. Like, he's chipping away with like a point every game, every second game. I mean, he's still doing stuff out there. He's got 2 assists here tonight, which is Friday. I'm a big fan of Beckett Seneca and some of the underlings as well. You also got Mikhail Granlund with the triple eligibility, getting a bunch of minutes and, getting some power play 1 treatment, right? Against, Logic, right? Instead of Cutter Gauthier out there, we got Mikhail Granlund. And then, you got Chris Kreider, Chicken X, and then Radko Gudas as your beefer. What's your pleasure, sir, with these Ducks?
Yeah, it's tough to piece it together right now with how disjointed the lineup is. All these
Yeah.
guys going in and out all the time. Like in this game against Los Angeles, it was Granlund, Killorn, Seneca was the line,
Yeah.
and then McTavish was with Gauthier and Ryan Strome. Um, Neither of those are exciting. Basically, as soon as you take Terry and Carlson out of this lineup, it really does
Yeah.
reduce the amount of
Looks like last
excitement.
year's Ducks.
I will say Seneca, I agree, has the most juice for me. 54th in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60 over the last 5 games, 4 points over 18 minutes a night. He really has seemed to kind of sustain this level all the way to this point. And if he can make it to the Olympic break here, then he's going to have a solid break to get himself right for the last stretch run of the season. I'm starting to think that Seneca might just be this dude. 62-point pace on the season, might carry it forward the whole time. That's pretty exciting. Granlund, just by virtue of the ice time, like, he's almost 20 minutes a night here, especially with the other guys missing. With Carlson out for longer, I expect them to continue to lean on Granlund. He's on a 56-point pace, like that's probably about right moving forward as well there. So definitely streamer worthy there. Mason McTavish is the toughest one. Like, you constantly feel like there should be more upside with McTavish, but we just haven't really seen it this year.
Yeah.
50-point pace for him on the season, 20-goal pace. Yeah, it's kind of a year where it seemed like a bunch of these guys broke out or at least showed us their ceiling potential. Maybe it won't all finish that way this year, but it might come home to roost in the future. And McTavish has just been the one guy where that hasn't really happened. There was like the contract stuff in the offseason. Maybe it was a bit of a slow start and he's never really gotten unwound, and maybe that'll be next year for him. But yeah, it's getting harder and harder to trust McTavish as he just has never quite seemed to get fully on track this year. Chris Kreider, underlying metrics are really tough here, and so I think he's at the bottom of the list for me personally.
Yep, absolutely. I love that. Like Seneca is really. I was going to talk about him soon in a solo pod here, just because of some of the even the all 3 zone stuff that I'm seeing with Beckett Seneca. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's showing out. Like, this is a really good play driver, good offensive player, and this is his first year. So, and I like what you said about McTavish as well. I think maybe the best is yet to come, but it could be next year. Let's move over to Calgary here, which is in the team. 4 games, 3 off nights. We got Nazem Kadri, Jonathan Huberdeau, if they're out there. Zane Parekh, is he like? Do you think he's going to get some run here, Nate? I know you got him on the list here. You know what? Save that for a second. We'll talk about the forwards first, and then I want to hear your take on Parekh. But we got Kadri, Huberdeau, Backlund, Coronado, and the Tinkly Winkly man, Morgan Frost. I mean, yeah, what do you want to do with these Flames forwards? Like, none of this is really inspiring stuff. The metrics aren't great. I mean, and then we got Zane Perek, which is kind of an interesting piece.
Yeah. For the forwards, I finally dropped Nazem Kadri in the spot where I had him. He has gone a full month without scoring a goal, which is just insane. He has
Yeah,
one
crazy.
assist in the last month. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll turn around for him, but I can't wait for it also.
Mhm.
So yeah, I moved on there. Huberto, I have no interest in. Backlund, Coronado, Frost, honestly, I think they'll have some good weeks, and I have zero confidence that next week in particular will be one of those weeks. They are playing some teams that you might be able to score on. New Jersey, Anaheim, even Washington has been a little leaky from time to time here in the last little bit. So, yeah, I'm not saying that it couldn't happen. I'm just saying I don't trust it basically with any of these forwards on Calgary. On the back end there, I do think that Rasmus Sanderson is getting moved here shortly. There's been a lot more chatter about it recently. I think the Flames are getting more motivated to move him because they're realizing that there's no chance to sign him. So they're going to make it happen here. And once that happens and they've kind of just officially flipped the script over into building for next year again, then I don't see any reason to keep Perek off the top power play unit. Like you saw what he did in the World Juniors. Terrific offensive defenseman, definitely has defensive warts, and may hold him back from a true ceiling in the NHL. But they're definitely going to let him run with it when they have no reason not to.
Yeah, that's really interesting because that's something you talked about a lot in the off season as well. Kind of, prognosticating the Flames sort of fall here in the second half. Perek, we could really get a player here that is of interest, right? And
Yep.
obviously, we saw the proof of concept in the World Juniors there. So great player. When he gets back, I'm definitely interested. Let's move on to Chicago here. We're looking at some power play one options. I'm still a big fan of Andre Burakovsky. Obviously, I like him a lot better when Connor Bedard is in the lineup because they're playing really well together. You got Ryan Donato, who's been a metrics guy for a long time. Obviously, not getting the deployment needed. Toivo Teravainen here, and then Artyom Levshunov as well. Like I think I'm interested in Levshunov and I'm interested in Burakovsky. I've got Levshunov in a couple spots here, and he's been doing just enough to sort of maintain his spot on my roster. What are your thoughts on these Blackhawks here?
Yeah, I think Burakovsky, line one, power play one, all the exposure to Bedard. His individual stuff is never going to look terrific, but he's also 29th in on ice expected goals for per 60 over the last five, over 18 minutes a night. I think that's definitely the top streamer there right now, like just based on deployment alone. Even if you didn't believe in the player too much, I think you'd still be interested in that just based on that deployment. So, Burakovsky, definitely the number one guy here for me. Donato did get back on the top power play in the last game, which is why I threw him in here just to note that. I don't really know if I believe that'll last, but it's just something worth noting. Teravainen has been dinged up, but assuming he's back, then he should be back on the top power play. And then, yeah, it's a guy who, he could score two power play points in one game and pick up a goal and then assist another game, and you're looking at a 4 point week out of Teuvo Teravainen. It wouldn't be the most shocking thing. So he's definitely a streamer caliber player. Levshunov, I agree, is of significant interest. His underlings have looked good for a hot minute. They are really trying to turn this guy into their number one defenseman. Almost 23 minutes a night over the last five games. 82nd in shots per 60, 22nd in on ice expected goals for per 60. That's a good number at a really big minutes number. And he's starting to bring, like, all his stats on the season are starting to look more and more like a guy that we should be really interested in for fantasy. He's just got to convert a few more chances than he's had recently, but he's on a 38-point pace on the season for basically a rookie defenseman in the league. I think that's a pretty good mark for Levshunov, and it wouldn't surprise me if he actually improves rest of the season.
Yeah, no, I'm big into Levshunov here at this moment. I mean, he's shooting pretty well. He's hitting. So he's doing some other stuff for you. And I should shout out as well, like the Blackhawks power play is still like it's ninth overall on the season in conversion. So it's still a good power play. That was one of my hot takes. Come on, guys, get a little lower in there. All right. We want the Blackhawks, safely in the top 10. But I mean, that power play is really good. And I want to shout out Tyler Bertuzzi as well. This guy has been going bonkers lately. I mean, I don't think he'll be available in your leagues. He shouldn't. But I mean, according to Mark Barber's expected goal model, in the last 2 weeks, this guy's number one in the entire league in expected goals per game. Tyler Bertuzzi, he does that. And Bedard was injured for some of that. So it's kind of a nice data point there for Bertuzzi. Let's move on and talk about the Colorado Avalanche, this wagon of a team that got obliterated 7-3 by the Nashville Predators here on
Yeah.
Friday. Damn. Okay. That's fine. Take a night off, boys. Okay, that's totally fine. But yeah, you're obviously not getting the cream of the crop here when it comes to streamers. But I do think that Malinsky is worth a look, right? If you're looking for a fourth or fifth defenseman, Sam Malinsky is underlying metrics there are really, really good, especially with the all three zone stuff. This is a guy that zone entries that lead to chances, shot assists, chance assists. He balls out in that stuff, even more than Cale Makar. Scoring chance assists, he leads the Colorado Avalanche in that on the back end. So that's an interesting piece to me, more than Makar. So it's Sam Malinsky. He just needs more minutes, in my opinion. But you got Josh Manson out here as well. Ross Colton obviously didn't play here tonight, but yeah, I mean, talk to me about the Avs. Is there anyone you're kind of interested in here?
Yeah, Manson is more of a bangers shout, right? I agree on Malinsky. He's definitely a streamer level defenseman in weeks when Colorado has a good schedule. 37th shots per 60, 57th on ice expected goals for per 60 last five. Picked up an assist here tonight in that 7-3 loss, so he's doing a bit of stuff. Ross Colton, when healthy, is still going to be a guy with absolutely elite underlying metrics and no deployment to show for it, so I'm always going to have time for Ross Colton.
Absolutely. I'd love to, I mean, that wouldn't that be amazing? Like Ross Colton goes and he's just the face of a franchise somewhere, like straight cameo. He still has his cameo account, right? But now he's like the captain of a team playing 20 minutes a night. I mean, what are we looking at? Like 120-point season?
Well, I think he'd eclipse McDavid for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's just science, right? Let's move on. Let's talk about the Devils. Unfortunately, yeah, this team just has some of the best offensive talent in the league, and they can't score. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. But in terms of streamers, it's slim pickings here. You're looking at Dawson Mercer, who, 2 points in his last five, but the metrics are never good there. You got Shimon Nemec, who's in and out of the lineup, which I'm not really interested in. And then you got a B for option in Brendan Dillon. Any interest in those players?
Yeah, I mean, not a ton. I will say Mercer on the top power play. Arseniy Gritsyuk showed up
Yes.
on the top power play in the last game, so I want to shout that out. I love the player,
Yeah.
Arseniy Gritsyuk, and so anytime that happens, that's of interest to me. He is still on the third line, so that's going to hold him down a bit in terms of the even strength scoring. Jack Hughes is starting to go 6 points in his last four games here, all assists, but still, he's doing stuff. I think that the offensive turnaround is coming. I agree, Nemec, if he's getting scratched on some games, that's not something I'm willing to deal with. But yeah, shout out for Mercer and shout out for Gritziak for the power play time.
Yep, absolutely. I still think Jack Hughes isn't right. Like he's not shooting. So he's now he's a facilitator when he should be the guy shooting the puck, right? So it's I think it could just be an off year here for Jack Hughes, and all kind of nuked by this Quinn Hughes business. Like I really feel like Jim Rutherford just launched a grenade into the Vancouver Canucks dressing room and the New Jersey Devils dressing room, right? Like how do you come back from that? And then this guy falls through a table over whatever the hell happened. So I am a little bit concerned about Jack Hughes. I think the goal scoring's maybe not going to come back anywhere close to what he's capable of, but hopefully, the assists still stick around. Anyways, let's move on to Ottawa here. Check your waiver wires for Thomas Chabot, 54% rostered. I mean, that's a guy I'm definitely interested in as a third, fourth defenseman. Yeah, he's out there for big minutes, good offensive play driving. Dylan Cousins as well has put together a nice little stretch here, 54% rostered. So keep an eye out for him. But talk to me about the Pinto Bean. Yes, the Pinto Bean's been doing stuff. But I'm interested to hear your take on Shane Pinto, Claude Giroux. Oh my God, they had a massive game here, and Claude Giroux's out there just skating around. Like, what are you doing, Claude? My God. I don't know. And then you got Fabian Zetterlund. Ridley Grieg actually has had a nice little stretch here as well. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife. How are you ranking these Senators?
Yeah, I mean, it is actually pretty tough to rank them currently. I'm not like super excited on any of them. I'd love to be into Shane Pinto. I love the player. He's playing with Drew and Amadio at even strength. Like he doesn't have any of the top three offensive threats on his line from Ottawa, and that makes it pretty tough to get excited about him as much more than like a deep league stream. So I do like Pinto the player, less less sure about him as a stream in anything more than like a 14 team league or deeper.
Oh my God.
Uh, yeah, I mean,
How dare you?
Greig getting some time with Kachuk, Dylan Cousins on that line. Maybe there's some interest there. I'm mostly just staying away from these Ottawa players. I mean, Shabbat, yeah, if he's out there, if he's still out there, if Cousins is still out there, for sure, those guys. But once you get beyond that, it's pretty slim pickings for me.
Oh my God. These guys are better than some of the guys we've been talking about. What are you talking about, Nathan? I don't know. Give me Pinto all day. Obviously, Cousins. Give me him. They're doing stuff out there. Ridley Greig. No, I'm not interested in that. All right, but he seems like just an all time dingus. Anyways, let's move on to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, what are they doing this year? Are they going to make the playoffs? Maybe like I what's going on? It's crazy.
Could be.
Yeah, but I mean, we got Letang out here, and then a good group of forwards. Anthony Mantha, got Justin Brazeau and Ben Kindle. I mean, these guys have all had segments of the season where they're popping the hell off. So it's kind of I don't know. I don't know what to think about these players.
Yeah, I think it is fair to not be entirely sure what to make of these guys. I mean, Latang on the top power play for a good chunk here while Carlson is out is obviously of interest if he hasn't already been picked up in your league. 29th and on ice expected goals for per 60, 24 minutes a night over the last
Oh
five.
yeah.
And that's probably only going up at this point. So that's something to keep an eye on. Justin Brazeau has really good underlying numbers, but less than 12 minutes a night is not going to get it done. Mantha's at 12 and a half, and so that's probably not going to get done. Kindle's getting 15 and a half, but his underlying numbers are the worst of those three, so that's a little bit tough to roster as well. So yeah, it is a little bit tough to do it. I honestly think the world of Dan Muse and what he's done with this lineup and how he's
Absolutely.
deploying all these guys and he's getting the absolute most out of that fourth line. Yeah, I think Dan Muse is looking like the real deal. It's early in his first season. I don't want to like anoint him as the next big coach or anything crazy, but I have nothing but admiration for what he's been able to do with a lineup that most people thought was the worst in the league heading into the year. So pretty into what he's able to do there. And I think it's just a good data point that like if Manta's back on the top power play, if Brazeau were to get on the top power play or to move up the lineup and play with Crosby or something, like those kind of moves would move the needle for me because the underlyings are pretty good in this Pittsburgh system.
Yeah, and this power play is great as well. I mean, it certainly helps Dan Muse when you have a leader like Sidney Crosby there to sort of mentor some of these players. And
Doesn't
yeah,
hurt.
this guy's one of the best of all time, and he's still doing it. It's crazy. Crosby's having an amazing season, so love that. Let's move over to Seattle, and this is a team that I think we're actually interested in here this week. They got some bits and pieces, some streamers. The stream team. We're looking at Jared McCann, who's obviously an analytics guy that we've always enjoyed, but the deployment's not where we wanted to be. Matty Benier is a player I've been interested in the past, but he's kind of morphed into a more of a defensive kind of guy. I mean, I guess he always was, but when you start out your season winning the Calder and putting some points on the board, that kind of gets some expectations going. Jordan Eberle, Eli Tolvanen, all really good options. Chandler Stevenson. I refuse to stream Chandler Stevenson. I'm not going to do it. All right, I can't. All right, I won't be able to live with myself. We got Jaden Schwartz. We got Capo Caco. I mean, what do you? This is an interesting one because I think Seattle's going to be really viable here this week. Talk to me about the Kraken.
Yeah, it's just tough, right? They're doing this top nine almost like just rolling four lines a little bit, like Beniers, Eberle, Kako, Schwartz, Stevenson, Tolvanen, Goudreau, Winterton, Myers got more time on ice than McCann, Wright, Catton. Yeah, so that's tough to stomach from that perspective. And there's Brandon Montour comes back and they're straight back to this 1A, 1B power play situation, which is obviously going to hurt everybody who was on that power play. Vince Dunn, Jordan Eberle was a fixture on that power play. So was Beniers for that matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just feels like we're leveling things out again. That being said, McCann's underlyings are terrific yet again. Only 17, a little over 17 minutes average time on ice, but 26th individual expected goals for per 60 and 45th and on ice expected goals for per 60. He's definitely of interest. And Jordan Eberle is still getting big minutes here and has put together a nice little 30 goal, 56-point pace for himself on the season. And I think it's relatively sustainable if he's going to keep up this level of deployment. He is the captain of the team. It wouldn't be too shocking. So that's something to note there as well. The other guys, I honestly honestly don't have a ton of interest in, like Tolvanen, I guess he hits. So in a Bangers Cats league or something like that, maybe there's some interest there. But aside from that, I don't have a lot of interest in anything else going on. Jaden Schwartz has done pretty much nothing under the hood or in terms of the box score since returning.
Yeah. When is this team gonna are they ever gonna get a player in here that pops for fantasy and sort of unlocks some of these guys' offensive potential, or a coach that will just play Jared McCann 20 minutes a night? Like, let's start there. Can you just get Jared McCann out there? Like, small sample size for McCann, but 22 games on the season, he's fourth overall in individual expected goals per 60. Fourth. Jared McCann, he does that. So he's getting a lot of chances and he's on a 71-point pace. So I think that's a really interesting player here, especially this week. Move over to Toronto. Slim pickings here as usual for the Leafs. But yeah, I mean, he's been getting some power play one time. So that is something, McMahon, I was going to say McCann and McMahon, they should get on the same team. I don't know. This is not that funny, actually. So yeah, that's just a letter. Anyways, Bobby McMahon, yeah, the underlying is terrible, but he's kind of an efficient player, a timely scorer. You got some defensive options as well, OEL and Jake McCabe. Any interest here? Like, talk to me about your Leafs. Is there anyone kind of standing out to you?
Yeah, I think you can look at a few different things. You can look at Max Domi playing on the top line with Austin Matthews. They seem to actually be developing a bit of chemistry. It hasn't necessarily resulted in points for Max Domi over the last little bit, but it wouldn't be too shocking if it did. With Nylander back out, I do think that they're probably going to run this Domi McMahon Matthews top line again for a bit, and they're going to run Michelli on the second line with Tavares and Nyes, and Michelli's probably going to be on top power play for a while here too. So I actually do like Michelli a fair bit as long as Nylander is out. So that's probably going to be my number one look there on Toronto. OEL is just a guy that you can throw out there, and there's a pretty good chance he picks up a couple of assists for you. Jake McCabe for bangers leagues, especially for blocks, he's a monster there. So yeah, that's what I think about Toronto.
Easy peasy. We go from Toronto over to Vancouver. Dear God. Oh man, this is nine games they've lost in a row, Nate. You, I mean, what am I supposed to do with that?
Gavin McKenna, that's what you're supposed to do with that.
I guess, but you know what? He's not even the consensus number one anymore.
It's true.
We got this other guy, Steinberg, Ivar. That's a cool name, Ivar Steinberg.
Stenberg, yeah.
Stenberg. All right, Stenberg. Anyways, the Office Space. That's fine. Let's talk about the Canucks. Unfortunately, we got some bits and pieces. You got Jake DeBrusk. You got Brock Besser, who finally got off the schneid the other night with a goal. Actually, had a nice little game. So I was happy to see that. Evander Kane, Connor Garland. I think the defensive options, I'm not too interested. Zeev Williams getting power play one right now. Tom Willander got a look there, but it's not enough, right? I mean, I don't think this power play is actually generating a lot of shots, right? And some good expected goals as well, but they're not converting, right? I think that's a talent issue. So talk to me about DeBrusk, Besser, Kane, Garland, and even throwing those defensemen if you're interested. Like, what are we doing with these players?
Yeah, it's hard to be interested in anything that's going on there right now. I picked Jake DeBrusk for the head-to-head streamer deathmatch this week, and he's stopped doing a lot of the things that he was doing, which is classic Jake DeBrusk behavior, and I should have known better, but here we are. His underlying numbers still look the best of anybody here. 59 shots per 60, 53rd individual expected goals for per 60, and 54th and on ice expected goals for per 60. His time on ice has come down in the last little bit. It looks like he's still getting power play one deployment and all that there, but the average time on ice 14:51, 14:43, 15:02 in the last 3 games. So that's coming down. You don't like to see that if you're looking at
No.
picking up a guy for the week. Is the ice time trending in the wrong direction? Brock Besser is going to get that ice time, but he has had just a brutal year by his standards, and I honestly don't know if I can count on it to get better. Yeah, it's between Besser and DeBrusk as a streamer if you had to from Vancouver this week, and honestly, I'd probably flip a coin.
Flip a coin. You got to go with the best head of hair, and that's Brock Besser.
All right.
I think that, I mean, I know the caliber of offensive player that Besser is, and he's not showing it right now currently, but I think that tips it for me. Like, this guy is a good sniper. He should be a 60 to 70 point player. He's pacing for 40 points right now. So brutal year for Besser, but it's not lack of talent. I don't know it's just bad vibes over here. Let's finish up with Vegas here. Vegas, baby. So we're looking at Ivan Barbashev, Keegan Colasar. I don't know that there's really anyone else you're looking at. Maybe Braden Bowman, but he's been doing stuff as of late. But I think there are better options on some of the teams we mentioned already. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, I don't think there's much going on here. I mean, Barbashev playing even strength with Stone and Eichel. As long as that's happening, you can take that swing, and I'm not going to be mad at it. His underlings are pretty putrid. He's got 3 assists just by virtue of being on the ice when those two guys are on the ice. But other aside from that, there's nothing to really entice you about Barbashev's game as of late. Colasar, just a hits guy who occasionally chips in with some offense, so something to think about in your Bangers Cats.
Absolutely, buddy. And then there are 5 teams that play 4 games with 2 off nights: Buffalo, Florida, Minnesota, Washington, and Winnipeg. But yeah, we're not going to go through all of those players here, buddy. We got to talk about the Apples and Ginos Patreon, and then we got to get the biz with these dream streams.
All right, supporter tier, $2 a month gets you onto the APL waitlist. We have been continually throughout the year getting people in from the waitlist, so it is cycling through. The $8 tier, Apple's tier, also gets you that wait list eligibility and eligibility to play if you get up there on the wait list, and we give you the tap to join the ranks of the elite. Wow, that was way too much. It also gets you access to the patron-only Discord channels, access to patron-only live shows. We'll have another one coming up here in January that Blake's going to be doing for the people, so look forward to that. Show notes, including these weekly ad targets that we talk about here. Apples and Ginos player evaluation tool, which looks a little something like this. You can see that beautiful head of hair that Jared McCann is sporting, and also his insane metrics under the hood. So lots of good stuff in the player evaluation tool as well. All right, we are now heading over to the dream streams. And this is basically where I just rank all the players that we've just talked about and try to order them for the people in terms of who I would pick up first. So up at top, Jerry McCann for me. I'm just not going to ignore the underlying numbers when they're that good. Am I worried about the deployment? Yes, absolutely. I'm worried about the deployment. But Jerry McCann is actually crushing every second he's on the ice, every time he's been on the ice this year. So I'm going to lean on that. Jordan Eberle, a little bit more for the time on ice there, but also he's just been pretty consistent, I would say, there in Seattle. So I like that there. Andre Burakovsky fits here as well. Beckett Seneca, as I mentioned, I think these 4 guys are probably a tier for me up at the top. That makes some sense to me. I'd be most interested in one of those 4 if any of them are available in your league. You could go in any direction, and I wouldn't try to dissuade you if you chose one over the other. Then you get below that, and you're talking about Matthias Michelli. I'm actually pretty into Michelli. I think there's been a lot of pep in his step in this power play 1, assuming that Nylander is going to miss at least a little bit of time here, and you get Michelli on power play 1 for the full week. I would be pretty into that. So check status on Nylander, because that obviously has a big impact on Michelli. But assuming that Michelli's going to be line 2 power play 1, I'm actually pretty into that right now. Mikhail Granlund, Mason McTavish, Matty Beniers for the ice time there in Seattle, and he's been shooting a little bit more as of late. We can throw that feather in his cap too. Artyom Levshunov I put on here because I am pretty into him and what he's bringing to the table. I put anybody from Vancouver. Like I said, it's tough to believe in it, but probably somebody from Vancouver, probably one of DeBrusk or Besser will actually have a pretty nice week next week. But yeah, it is tough to figure out which one. So I just kept that there as the number 10 spot in the rankings. Anything you'd like to take issue with here, Blake?
No, not at all. But it's got to be Besser, buddy. Come on, you
All
got to.
right, putting
He's
it in the
coming
show
back. There
notes.
you go. Thank you, my man.
All right, let's keep going. Let's talk about the best for hits for the people in the Bangers Cats. Adam Klapka, you got to go with 4.9 hits per game over the last 14 days. Keegan Colasar's at 4.5. Jeremy Lauzon, 4.3. Gudis, 3.7. Andre Palat actually does this and has been doing this more as his offense has worn off. 3.4 hits per game over his last 14 days. Jansen Harkins, Ross Johnston, Kevin Ball are some other options if you really got to focus on hits alone, but those guys are not going to offer you a whole heck of a lot else. For blocks, Jake McCabe, as I mentioned, 2.6 blocks per game. Just absolutely crushing it in the blocks category for you. Brandon Carlo as well, since he's returned from injury. Lots of Toronto guys blocking shots. It's definitely a feature of the Craig Berube system. Brett Kulak's at 2.3 there in Pittsburgh, so that's something. He's getting some pretty solid minutes there as well, and probably get it even more with Carlson out, so that's something to keep an eye on. Simon Benoit for the Leafs, assuming he's coming back at 2.2 blocks in that time period. Kevin Ball shows up here as well, so Ball is actually a pretty good guy to go for both hits and blocks. Jeremy Lauzon shows up here as well. Brett Pesce, Marcus Patterson, Adam Larson are the others. Anything you want to say about the Beefers, Blake?
Just a bunch of prime rib, AAA beef right there, buddy. Adam Klapka, my God, what an animal. Yeah. But do you ever stream just for hits? Like, I know you're in a category league. Like, I
Yep.
guess, like at the start of the week, like, would you be like, yeah, you know what? I want to beef up my hits. I'm going to pick up Adam Klapka on Monday. Would you do that? Or would that be something that you get kind of in the back half of the week when you think you have a chance to win the category?
Yeah, I've done that. I did that this week actually. I picked up I think it was Garnet Hathaway, and he had the, was it Hathaway who had the 10 hit game? Am I
Ooh.
remembering this correctly?
And you
Yeah, he had
streamed him
10
for it?
hits. Yeah, I streamed him
Oh,
for the
damn.
Monday, and he went off for 10 hits. So I have done stuff like that. Um, yeah, I think it's a viable strategy. It's tougher the less amount of ads. Like in that league, I have 7 ads for the week, so it makes it pretty
Sure.
easy
Yep.
to really target specific categories with a single ad. But yeah, it is definitely a strategy I've used in that league. All right, let's continue on. Let's talk about the hold me section. These are the players that we want to hold, as you might have heard already. Uh, Graduated from the class here. Bowen Byram's up to 55%, Stuart Skinner 52%, Brant Clark's at 51%, and Tyler Toffoli's at 51%, although he might be dropping back down shortly, has not put up points in the last couple of games here. Long-term plays, I mean, Patrick Kane still at 40%. Matsu Ello is still at 17%, which is insane. Gabriel Landeskog would be here if he wasn't out with injury. I'm just going to keep him here forever just to think about what might have been. William Eklund, Adam Fantilli, Ryan O'Reilly, Jared McCann, Elias Lindholm, Jordan Eberle, Jordan Kyrou. I think that's probably kind of a tier there for me. It does work down. Like I still would definitely prefer Eklund, Fantilli, O'Reilly to the next tier there. Probably McCann, Lindholm, Eberle, Kyrou. I'm really interested in Kyrou. I don't trust it. I just with Montgomery there, but man, we know what Kyrou can
Yeah.
do.
Yep.
Like we have a multi-season proof of concept with this player. It can be terrific if it's working. So, yeah, I picked up Kyrou in a few spots for this Friday Sunday, and I'm trying to hang on to him in as many spots as possible just to see if he can't start to put something together. The underlyings are all there. Anton Lundell, Ryan Leonard, Andre Burakovsky, Luke Evangelista, who had 3 assists in the game here, at least 3 assists, actually. I don't think I even saw the last few goals that went in there. So Mason Marchment, when he comes back, would fit in somewhere around here. Josh Doan, Josh Norris, obviously he's out as well. Beckett Seneca, Matt Duchene, and Emil Heineman, who's just been pounding pucks at the net as of late and on power play 1 there. Talk to me about this list, how it feels for you, Blake, players you'd move up or down.
Yeah, move up or down. I mean, Landeskog, yeah, I understand the reason he's there, but yeah, I'm not too interested in him moving forward. But yeah, I really like Ryan Leonard. I like his game lately. I think that 30% that seems way too low for kind of the opportunity that he's receiving right now, and he's making good on it. I also think Matt Zuccarello, 17%. It's like, why? I don't understand. I mean, this team is has the potential to be a wagon, right? You got Quinn Hughes now, and now we've got Boldy and Jeek out. So it's going to be more minutes for Matt Zuccarello at the very least. He's out there with Cap all the time. 70% makes no sense.
Yeah, I tend to agree that Zuccarello at 17% is one of the more preposterous Yahoo roster percentages that we've seen this year. Sub 20% rostered. Zuccarello obviously leading the charge there. Andre Texier, or Alex Texier, actually. Alexander Texier at 20%. Jason Zucker, Mason Marchment. Still have Jake DeBruskin here just because of the underlying metrics. I am growing less and less secure in that take the more he scores fewer and fewer points for me each game in the head-to-head streamer deathmatch, which we'll get to in a moment. Sub 10% rostered Burakovsky, Evangelista, Charlie Coyle, power play one and crushing it the last couple of
Yeah.
games under Rick Bonas. We have to talk about that. That's pretty interesting. Just the extra time on ice, but also the extra role on the power play, and it seems to be working for him. At even strength, he's playing with Olivier and Voronkov, which is obviously not like he's not playing with Marchenko and Fantilli or anything crazy, but yeah, it's a line that he can probably make work. I don't think that there's like a ton of upside here with Coyle, but yeah, if he can give us some periffs and score some goals on the power play, like who am I to say no to that? So Charlie Coyle there. Justin Sordiff obviously went on IR as we mentioned, but have some interest in that player when he comes back and see where he slots into the lineup. Kent Johnson, another big benefactor in the early going from Rick Bonas coming to town on that top power play, getting big minutes playing with Boone Jenner and Sean Monahan at even strength. So that's a player to watch for sure as well. Matthias Michelli at 3%. Said my piece on him. Jonathan Taves playing top power play in Winnipeg, and Gabe Velarde down on the second line has given that line some juice. So Velarde, Taves, Perfetti has been doing a little bit of something over the last little bit. And yeah, Taves looks like an NHL player once again, where he didn't really look like an
Yeah.
NHL player for a good chunk of the early season, but he's got 5 points in his last 4 games here, including goals in every single one of those 4 games. So something going on with Jonathan Taves at the moment, and want to shout that out. Do I think that it's going to continue for the rest of the season? Probably not, but it is something worth noting at the moment. Christian Dvorak here at 8%. Jimmy Snuggerud is one that I wanted to highlight as well. He's had a nice little run here under the hood. Some good stuff happening there in this game against Tampa. He had another 4 shots. His last 5 games are 4 shots, 5 shots, 4 shots, 5 shots, 4 shots. He played 1954 in this game against Tampa. So Jimmy Snugger definitely worth a look in some deeper spots. Igor Chernyshov, Teuvo Teravainen, Zach Benson, Matt Coronado, Oliver Bjorkstrand round out the sub 10% rostered. Talk to me about these lowly rostered players, Blake.
No, I love it. There's some good bits and pieces here. The Coiler, oh my god, he's his underlying metrics the last 5 games. It's not just like he's doing stuff like first off he got a goal the other night against the Canucks, silky mitts. Dear God, I mean he's filling the bowl. He flushed it and he filled it again. Okay, dangled Lankinen out of his jockstrap, but yeah, the metrics are really good. He's first overall in individual scoring chances, 4/60, third overall in individual expected goals for 60. I'd love to see that. And then Josh Doan is a guy I just want to shout out. I love Josh Doan. I think that this is a real player. I think he's pacing for something like 60 points, but he's doing all the right things out there as well, like really driving play and not just a passenger, right? He's someone that I think they kind of stole him. I think he's really kind of showing to be a guy that could be a big part of the future here in Buffalo.
Absolutely. On defense, we have John Klingberg, 11%. I actually didn't check and see what the latest power play lines were from this game. It was John Klingberg back on the top power play, so as expected there. But yeah, Klingberg, Lev Shunov, who we've obviously mentioned, Letang, who we've mentioned for that role. Nemec, I think, has a lot of upside, so I've kept him on the list, even though the situation there, when Hamilton's out of the picture, and I do kind of expect that he will be, unless they really can't find any takers, then I think Nemec will probably get back to business and be a really good offensive defenseman. Matthias Ekholm, Oliver Ekman Larson, Sean Dursey, Mike Matheson, Travis Sanheim, Dmitry Orlov, just kind of all those same kind of archetype of power play 2 defensemen. Zane Perek, who we talked about earlier on, I have a lot of time for Zane Perek and picking him up trying to wait until Anderson is actually dealt so that you're not just rostering a zero in those times. But I think once Anderson is gone, it won't be long before Perek takes power play one. And I think he's got a decent chance of doing something with it because I think he is that good. Philip Broberg, as we talked about on that power play one, got to take notice of that. Do I think that Broberg is going to pop off for a huge point base rest of the season? No, but I've been surprised by stranger things before. Steve William for that power play one role. Drew Doughty at 40%. Vladislav Gavrikov also running power play one in New York. Don't expect that that's going to result in a ton of points, especially if they start trading guys away, but it is what it is. Sub 20% rostered. Klingberg, Levshunov, Nemec, Perek, Broberg, Gavrikov all show up here. Beyond that, you get Sam Malinsky, who we talked about, JJ Moser playing a ton of minutes for a really good Tampa team, although maybe a little bit of something off the top taken off there with Braden Point out. And Pavel Minchikov has been getting a lot of run in Anaheim, so I wanted to continue to include him in this list as well as a 1% rostered player. Anything to say about some defensemen, Blake?
No notes, man. We've been getting into it. Minchikov's interesting, and just because of that power play one there, and obviously I like my boy Malinsky as well.
All right, and in goal we have Philip Grubauer, 31% rostered. Joel Hofer, who again has a nice game here, has a shutout, gets the next start. I don't know. Maybe he's just going to start all the games now, and Jordan Bennington can go out to pasture finally. I don't think that's actually going to happen, but yeah, it is noteworthy to me that he got 2 games in a row. It is probably just because he had the shutout in the last game, but hey, you don't get the next game without getting the shutout. He made 34 saves in this game to win this, and then it went through the shootout as well. So he was definitely a huge reason why they were able to take down Tampa, who has taken down just about everybody in their path as of late. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I do think that they're going to resolve the goaltender situation there in Buffalo, and UPL will at least get 50% starts. They've basically been splitting starts between him and Ellis 50-50 here. I think that'll likely continue, but I have a little bit more faith that Luukkonen can actually, be above the baseline for the rest of the season. So UPL makes some sense there. Jonathan Quick is going to start for the Rangers as long as Shesterkin is out. It has not been pretty, and I don't know that it's going to be, but break glass in case of emergency. He is getting starts. Montreal, a tandem here. As I mentioned, I think Montembeault is the guy they want to take over, and I would kind of expect that moving forward. So he's at 41% rostered. If he's still out there in your league, you might want to think about picking him up if you need a goaltender. Montreal, obviously a good team. Sub 25% rostered. Hofer fits there. Then you got Shilovs, who's still splitting starts with Skinner there in Pittsburgh. I had Marylainen in here, but it sounds like if Allmark's going to be back, then Marylainen will obviously not be of interest to us zero Gers anymore. Colton Ellis is 3% rostered, and yeah, he's splitting starts on a good team, so probably pretty useful actually in some leagues. Samuel Urson, just because Vladar's out, I don't think it's going to be a long time, but I'm always pretty gun shy with goaltender injuries where they go day to day and then they keep missing games and practices, and then all of a sudden it's a 5 week absence, and you're like, wait, what happened now? So
Yeah.
just including him for that reason there. Talk to me about some goaltenders, Blake.
Yeah, I mean, I like Joe Hofer a lot. I think he's getting 2 starts because Jordan Bennington has the worst goals saved above average in the entire league, like by a long shot. And the second worst is Levi Merilainen, right? So there's some stinky options there. I really like Joe Hofer. I also want to shout out Connor Ingram. I
Hmm.
think, Tristan Yari got back in the crease there. Made a boneheaded play to lose the game in that one. I think he's kind of their guy. They want him as number one, but I'm not sure what they're doing there in Edmonton. We have to keep an eye, like to see if is it Picard that's going to go down, right? Because if so, I think Ingram has some value. I think he's acquitted himself pretty well, and he's only 24% rostered, so there's some juice there as well. That's like the 4th time we said juice, and I feel good about that.
All right. We can move on from the juice and we can talk about the head to head streamer deathmatch. And it's a doozy this week,
Oh
Blake.
yeah.
You took Vasily Podkolzin. He has 6.95 APL fantasy points. Jake DeBrusk, not doing better, 5.6 points. Yeah, I think we can just move on from this.
There's no way we're moving on from this. All right. This is what we call a thrashing. I just gave you the thrashing of a lifetime, and I still have 2 games left for pods. So that clearly means that DeBrusque has a Hattie incoming in his 1 game coming up here. But I need the dub here. I got to get back in the win column and take it to you, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I've built up a nice little lead for myself here, so I
If
feel
you think
like
so, if you think so.
I think I've done enough for the next little bit, and I don't want you to feel too bad about
Thank
yourself.
you.
So
What a kind
yeah,
person.
yeah. So you went with who'd you go with here for this week, Blake? What do you got?
Yeah, we actually didn't pick. So did you pick, or are you doing it on the fly? Because
I'm
I
doing
need
it
to
on
know.
the fly. We're
I
doing it
love it.
live.
All right, sweet. So you know what? Because this is a little cheesy for me, a little chintzy. I like to, be a bit more adventurous than this. But Matt Zuccarello, 17%. No, he's got a 4 game week. I'm going with my boy, the Zucchini Man. Oh, he's gonna pop the hell off and just take Nate down, right?
All right, going with Zuccarello. I mean, can't be mad at that pick at this point. For myself, there's not really anything like jumping out at me here, so I think I'm just gonna go. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna play it safe, and I'm gonna go with. Wait, did he? I thought. Oh man, now I'm really doing this live. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
Burakovsky just because
Oh
it'd be fun to
hell
beat you
yeah!
with him.
Oh
So
damn! I thought you were gonna go with Granny. I was thinking about Granny.
I was thinking
So,
about it,
all
but
right.
yeah, I think I'll go with Andre Burakovsky, and
I
I'll
love
have a lot of
this.
fun with that if I win with him. So that's
Well,
fun for me.
that's hurtful.
All right. Well, if the people made it this far, they should probably click the link in the description, join the Discord community, like, rate, review, subscribe, whatever you can do. It really does help us out. That is going to be all that we've got for this episode. Hopefully, it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick and 18 Skaters. Many thanks to Matt Creamer for supplying music for the podcast. That's it, folks. Much love.